Okay, my name's Kate, and I live in the US. And I did not become a vegan for animal rights. I actually had no real knowledge about why I thought it was healthy. I only thought it was because I knew animal products contain what's referred to as fat, and I had a restrictive eating disorder. So I wanted to avoid fat in any form at all costs. I don't really remember where I heard about the vegan diet. I only knew that I started it because I was constantly trying to cut things out of my diet because I wanted not only to lose weight, but to lose weight until I was dying. And I'm pretty sure it was kind of an intuitive thing where I knew that eating only plants was restrictive. Um, I didn't, like, I didn't know how truly restrictive and how deprived I really was. But I just kind of knew deep down, I guess. So I'm 23 now, and my eating disorder started when I was 17, and the veganism started maybe when my eating disorder was at its worst. So I was 19, 20 or 21 when I really got into veganism. And my eating disorder was actually at its worst before I went vegan, and I became so emaciated because of how often I was fasting that my parents considered hospitalizing me. I resisted this, and I convinced them that I would attend group therapy and outpatient and one-on-one counseling and try to recover on my own, because the thought of going to a hospital and having whatever food forced into me, that just terrified me, all of it. So I think focusing on veganism was my way of coping with recovery. It was my way of kind of getting around having to recover. So it was like I would comply with normal meals while still restricting myself. And the funny thing is, I didn't think I was restricting at all because of just the volume of vegan food. Like big bowls of fruit, vegetable plates with hummus, burrito bowls, vegan substitutes like tofu and tempeh. They don't seem restrictive because of how much food is there. You think oh God, I'm so full. I just ate so much, but it's vegan, so whatever. It's fine. And it was all just so filling. But I realized something really scary, that I felt the same, if not worse, than I did when I was at my worst point during anorexia. I had no energy. I had extreme body dysmorphia. So what I saw in the mirror, what I pictured myself as, was truly not what I looked like. So the mental illness definitely got so bad. My brain just wasn't functioning properly. Anxiety, I've always kind of struggled with, but it got so much worse as a vegan. Also depression, mood swings, amenorrhea. I lost my period for over 2 years. I lost a lot of hair. My hair got very thin, was falling out. I experienced just joint pain. As a 23-year-old now, I'm just now barely starting to feel better from how bad my joints were aching and cracking, and just, I felt like I was falling apart. And it felt like I would wake up and just be in so much pain and be like, how am I going to get through this day? I was having chest pains, which were really scary, because I didn't know if there was something wrong with my heart. I was feeling really angry all the time, and even though all of those symptoms are really pretty bad, I think the worst of it all was the food obsession. I could not stop thinking about food or the way my body would be affected by it. I couldn't go about one day living my life normally without worrying about my next meal, 20 minutes after eating something, I would be in a panic, because my body still felt so deprived, and I was picturing myself gaining weight uncontrollably because I would be trying to make myself feel better with more food. Something else strange about the veganism was that even if I was deep in a relapse, an anorexic relapse, and doing extreme, like, intermittent fasting, such as, I don't know if you've heard of the OMAD diet, but it's actually something that is going around. I don't know how long it's been around for, but it stands for 1 meal a day. And I lived like that for over a year. And as soon as I would have my first meal of the day, or my first bite of the day, which would usually be at night, at the end of the day, it felt like I wanted to vomit. It felt like I had been overeating all day long. Just the mental illness and, like, the perception issues, like, everything was so skewed. Nothing made sense. I was just confused.
You had one vegan meal a day?
Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy.
I don't know. For me personally, I know that this is partly due to poor digestion due to underuse of the digestive system, but now I know it's also because vegan food is indigestible sugar. So the veganism continued because I needed something, just some habit or behavior to cling to during recovery, to make me feel special, or to make me feel like I was in control of something. And I weighed myself one day out of curiosity, and I was completely shocked. For some time, I noticed my clothes were fitting differently, and I had been feeling heavier, but my body dysmorphia was just out of control, and I never paid too close of attention to numbers and facts because I was always displeased if I didn't like what they were. But I somehow gained probably 25 pounds on the vegan diet, and the fact that I was only eating once a day and that I had gained 25 pounds, that made me crazy. I was just, like, so mind blown and confused and just like, what? Like, what? How can this be? I didn't really understand it then, but now it does make sense because I couldn't digest anything. And so my body was just clinging to whatever it could for survival. So keep in mind all of this. I was under the mentality also of an eating disorder, and many of my emotions were extreme to begin with, and I was never really aiming to be healthy. I was literally aiming to be sick. So that's why it's so significant that I stayed vegan for so long, even though I felt like total shit. So let's see. I was so sick of feeling horrible, and I thought the veganism was the answer to my recovery, but it started making me feel so bloated, like useless, dull, foggy. I was almost like childish when things didn't go my way with food. I would snap at people in my family and just snap at people in general. So it became the only thing that I was proud of myself for, even though my body was falling apart. But the weight gain really was, like, the end of it for me. Because I remember a long time ago, not that long, feeling so, like, just light and happy with myself before all of this got bad. And nothing took me further from this feeling of joy than veganism did. Being overweight is like living hell for me. It's worse than starving. It's worse than feeling like I was starving even when I was eating vegan. So I started researching what the hell I should do, so I found all of this, and it changed things for me. But another thing I should mention is, like, my activity level. I'm, like, extremely active and athletic. I ride horses, I run 5Ks, 10Ks pretty often. I used to dance ballet, I skate, I surf, and I worked several jobs. And all of this while being vegan, and I received zero physical benefit from any of it. I remained on the heavy side, like no matter how much or how little mind I paid to food. I couldn't lose fat or gain muscle. I was just bloated and like tired all the time. It was awfully frustrating, and I lost all this interest in my favorite activities, which it sucks. It was like the depression was so dark and like deep. So yeah, I found all these videos, and the proof is impossible to ignore. I was ready to try anything, so because I was honestly contemplating just ending it. I was like, I'm just gonna end it. Like, this suffering has just gone on, and I don't know how to fix it. But I just felt like I was at the end of my rope. So I started by trying just a glass of milk one morning. And I experienced the first satiation or like satisfaction from anything that I'd consumed in years. It was just instant like warmth, comfort, energy, focus, and it was like I was grounded again. And then after that, it took very little to switch back. That same day, I tried a lamb burger, like medium rare. I know that I can literally like see and tell and feel that like completely raw would just be the easiest and best way to go. But like the first day, I don't know, would have been hard to get my hands on that, I guess. So I felt amazing. Just enough. It was just enough to eat. It wasn't too much, and it felt like I was getting actual nutrients. I could go about my night. Nothing means more to me than living for more than just food, like I was before. Before, I felt crippled from starvation and even further hindered by my indigestible, nutrient-void, sugar-filled vegan food. Since this day, I have tried steak, pork chops, bacon, eggs, and cheese, and now animal fats are strangely like the only things that even seem like food to me. Everything else just looks like crap. Like, I just intuitively like have this feeling now, like this feels okay, like this feels right. It's just a feeling, I guess. What else? The bloating has gone away. Digestion's getting back to normal. There was a lot of damage that I can still tell, but it's starting to get back to normal. I can think clearly, and I have energy when I exercise. I experience visible results from working out, and my joint pain is subsiding. I really believe that this is saving me from like a life of suffering. Had I been too stubborn to look into what I should do. So let me see. I really had no vegan friends, but people were always asking me about it as if it was like some weird rumor going around about me. They always seemed skeptical. One friend said to me, I feel like I would have to eat so much if I were a vegan. And it's true, I did. Like, that's what I felt like. I still felt starved, and I still felt horrible about my body. I do have one friend who's vegan now, also a very active person. I know him because we both surf, and he looks emaciated. Like, the first time, it was really, like, funny, kind of, because the first time he told me he went vegan was right after I quit veganism. It was, like, right after, and I, like, wanted to say something so badly, but I just didn't because I don't like telling people what to do or whatever. Like, I can tell just looking at him that he's looking sick. And that's really sad because I love this kid. I didn't have much of a community of vegans around me to help me through this whole thing, but I followed a bunch of vegan YouTubers, and I think it's funny that they all seem to have like a fitness / body obsession centered around their looks, but few talk about how they really feel. Many of them also have videos about their eating disorders, and it's almost like a way of like narcissistic self-obsession where you call yourself a diet expert, you show off all of your like delicious creative recipes and your workout regimen and like your fabulous beautiful way of life, etc., etc. And like I've seen some talk about their actual health, and they always seem to be struggling with some sort of physical or mental problem. And I know I was both very, very bad, very, very badly. Um, and it was like I felt so weak that I couldn't even go get help for it. Like I don't know, there was some weird shame about it or something. And it's just so trendy that like it makes me want to gag. Um, So those people online became my best friends at this time, and I would always watch them alone in my dark bedroom while I was eating and like feel guilty about my food, like just trying to convince myself it was okay and that I was some part of some like special righteous community. This is what it felt like. It's just this like crazy thing, like it's why was I feeling so guilty about the food? Like I never understood that. If it really was the healthiest thing, like shouldn't I feel good about it or like feel nothing about it? Like it's just supposed to be like it's just supposed to keep you alive. Like it shouldn't even be a thing. You shouldn't have to feel about it. Like
Would you call it a religion or a cult or something like that?
um very very close to something like that.
Mm.
I have something written here. I think let's see. It's definitely it if it's truly being spread like as propaganda, like some people argue, you might get me to say it's meant to like sedate us or like make us docile, like blind followers who just stay stuck in like a comfort bubble of lies. um, it, it's hard for me to say because I didn't have many friends that were like that. I only people like knew that I was, and they would say like, "Whoa!" It felt really culty, like the whole social media thing about it. Like just all the YouTubers and all the Instagrams that tag vegan and just like try to make it some kind of art form or like just the fact that it all centers around like fitness and like craziness and like it seems like a competition kind of. And it's just like I'm just trying to stay alive and like
What do you think is the future of veganism? What do you think is going to happen to all of these YouTubers?
well, I think that they're gonna hit a wall eventually. I think that I think that they're gonna realize that they can't keep living like this. Like, cause that's how I was feeling. And I almost started to like try and make like a blog about it or something. I had this weird need to like document it and
Mm.
like document what was happening to me the whole time. I had like a weird, cause I'm seeing all these people like showing it off and like kind of flashing it like it's some kind of accessory or like a way of life. I don't know, like a religion, and I'm like, why do they feel the need to show everyone and like make such a big thing about their recipes and like all these cookbooks? I'm like, I just want eating to be simple. Like, please just make it simple for me. Maybe that's why I stuck to it, because I thought it was simple, like one rule to stick to, like no animal products.
Mm.
I guess that. So like it made it sort of easy for me in my recovery and like also in my eating disorder. But it wasn't that easy because I have something written here and okay, this whole like starving vampire thing makes so much sense to me now. That is truly what I feel like. I feel like a starving vampire.
Yeah.
So like preparing meals as a vegan always felt like weird somehow. It felt like someone was breathing down my neck, even if I was alone. I felt like I was being watched. It was like crazy. I had I had to have so much volume and so many ingredients just to make it satisfying in the least. And it just felt bad having so much food to myself. Like I was like, I don't know, this isn't right. It's like not easy. This is supposed to be like effortless. Like this shouldn't take up so much time in my day. But it did. It's like, oh my God, all the vegans on YouTube are like, okay, today all I'm going to do is go to the farmer's market and then I'm going to go home and spend the rest of my day like baking potatoes and squash and shit. Okay, so on the contrary, like having just a glass of milk or like a few eggs gives me energy for like hours. And then the vegan food, I've always felt like going to sleep afterward or like just crashing or like I didn't want to go back out of the house after that.
Mm.
I don't know. The thought of uh the thought of raw meat like just doesn't scare me. It used to, but it used to scare me more before veganism made me feel so awful. Now, when I try to find out the right thing to do, it just seems like the right thing to do. Yeah, so the thought of like cooking and prepping and spending so much time on it stressed me out so much. And eating raw animal products truly seems like the best and easiest thing to do. I think veganism is like a way of controlling the body to have a certain look. And at least it seems to be, but I think good luck achieving any results on your own because you'll either gain fat or lose muscle, and you'll definitely destroy your joints and every system in your body. So think about what sugar does to your teeth. Now imagine what it does to your bones. Like, I felt that so hard. It felt like the bones in my body were disintegrating.
Mm.
Like, as a 23-year-old, I shouldn't have a problem standing up, but I do. Yeah. Veganism might be okay for some people with, like, certain sensitivities or, like, as a short-term cleanse or, like, maybe, like, some kind of short-term diet. I don't know why, but definitely not okay for sustaining life for the most of us. Yeah, what else? I think to those in need of change, like something I would say to other vegans, don't be afraid of changing. Nothing can be worse than living in such pain. Try it. If you don't like it, you can always go back, though I wouldn't recommend it. You haven't broken some sacred covenant, and you haven't changed as a person if you eat a piece of meat. You are not evil. You're not a murderer. You are a living predator at the top of the food chain, and this vegan food is sucking you down to the very bottom with the eggplants and the radishes. And you are more than this horrible struggle. Things will quickly improve, and you will gain an understanding. So don't wait any longer. If you're suffering because there is a better way and there is a perfect way.
Well said. That's the thing. They believe that they're suffering because of the animals, but they're actually suffering because they're malnourished. It's very twisted. It's a mental illness. That's the problem. It's hard to get out of it. I get what you're saying. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for
Yeah,
sharing.
you're welcome. I don't doubt that your channel has changed many lives, and I'm very glad to be able to be a part of it. It's cool how easy it was to actually like do this. I started watching your channel and I was like, oh, even if I wanted to, I could never. But like, it's so cool that you reach out to just the public. That's awesome.